Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I've got the frame back, I've got the gas tank and the fender back, and we're going to put everything together and see what it looks like. First things first, when you get these EBR extra beefy hydraulic forks, they don't come with a race. So you're going to need to buy the male end of the race that fits on the bottom of the fork tube to sit up into the bottom where the bearing sits, okay? Or you're going to have to pull the old one off your old fork, which is a pain, so just do yourself a favor and buy one. I went ahead and bought a caged bearing also that we're going to grease up and get on here, and then we're going to pick the frame up and slide the fork into the frame, and then you're going to see that portion of it. Now after that, I'm going to be revealing the good stuff. I had the tank modified for higher capacity, and I had it custom airbrushed with a theme of the Lucky 13 build. So stay tuned, let's get the fork on the frame and get the frame up on the stand, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Alright, here we go. As you can see, I stuck with the same color that the 50th anniversary came with from the factory, which is Tomos Silver. Please don't mind this. I had a little bit of a issue after the fact with the gas tank. When it was welded, it kind of shrunk a little bit and we had to do some modifications, but all these little scuffs that you see here that were touched up with touch-up paint are actually going to be underneath the tank, so they'll never be seen. Only you guys and I will know that they are there. But I wanted to go back with the factory color because obviously that's what the 50th anniversary Tomos Target Lexus were. But I wanted to incorporate some other colors in there too to come up with a little bit of a different color scheme. Now we've got the black EBR fork. So what I decided to do is the aftermarket beefier swing arm. I went ahead and went with gloss black with that. Okay, so that's going to help out contrasting colors from the fork to the back swing arm. Now, also, I got new shocks for the rear. Of course, if you're going to have EBRs in the front, you got to go with something cool in the rear as well. And with what I'm going to be doing with this bike, it's going to be we're going to be going on a pretty decent trek. And so, what I decided to do with the rear shocks, I could have gone back with stock replacement shocks, or I could have gone back with something similar to the stock replacement shock, but my philosophy is, hell, if I'm going big on the front, we gotta go big on the back too. So this is what I got. These are adjustable shocks with a remote reservoir. It is an air shock. We can also nitrogen fill these. So these are going to go on the back like so, in between the swing arm and the frame. And they are height adjustable and dampening adjustable with load by using the adjustable nut here, as well as inputting or taking out air pressure. So we've got the black fork, we've got the black swing arm, and we've got the black shock. So I thought that would be a kind of a cool contrast. Of course, the seat's going to be black, and the rack that goes on the back where your lights and your signals and everything mount is going to be black also. So, you know, I thought that was kind of a cool little thing. The chain that I've got is gold, so it's going to tie this gold color in with the chain, so that's all going to match. I'm a big fan of blue. Blue's my favorite color. So, what I decided to do with the tank and with the rear fender is a little bit different. Now, I went to a place called Chad's Customs, and the guy that owns the shop, of course, his name's Chad. And like I said, I wanted to have something blue to tie into it because just blue's my thing. So we came up with a theme, and this is how it turned out. This tank, not only was it modified for larger capacity, but it was stripped all the way down to the metal, and then candy was put over the metal. And you can also see this kind of like a scale look. And then of course the 13, because it's the number 13, Lucky 13. So I hope you can see that metal work in the candy. But not only that, but he went ahead and did a dragon and a Lucky on the top. And here's his information if any of you want a tank done as well. He's here in South Carolina. And I'm going to have all his information at the bottom of this as well. But I'm just kind of blown away with the quality of the paint job. 13 on both sides, of course. So this is the tank. So we've got the black here on the tank as well to kind of tie in the fork to the rear shock, to the rear swing arm, to the seat as well. And because I'm running a way larger rear tire, we had to cut the rear fender because it was hanging down and it would have been in the way. So what I did is I went ahead and had him trace the fender and cut it flush along this profile here. Okay, and then continue it out just a little bit because I'm not going to be using the factory tail light. So this is what it ended up looking like. And he went ahead and did a 13 on that and did the metal polishing with the candy work there as well. So this is actually going to fit flush up inside here. And I'm just holding it here. I mean, when I get it tightened up and everything, it fits actually flush up inside here so you don't see any of this blue. And it'll just have this little blue beaver tail hanging off the back with the 13 on it. So I think that's really neat, and I think it's going to turn out really good. But before we can install these, we've of course got to get the wiring harness and everything set up in the back. So that's the color scheme that we're going to go with on this bike. I've got a few other things I've got to paint, like the rear rack that's going to go on there for the turn signals and the tail light. Speaking of which, the tail light that I decided to go with from the guys at Treatland is pretty neat. It is a slim mounted LED. Okay, and what this does is it bolts vertically, so it's going to bolt to the bottom of the rack that goes on the back, and of course the signals bolt to the sides on the back, and it comes with the wiring harness and everything already attached to it. So it's going to give it a little, it's a lot sleeker, a lot slimmer look. And then the headlight, which isn't here yet, but it's coming, is a high beam, low beam with built-in LED turn signals inside the round part of the bulb to make it clean on the front as well. So we need to get this puppy working, and we need to go ahead and get this sucker built. So that's what we're going to work on now. And without further ado, we might as well go ahead and get started. Now I've already got the bottom bearing in and the race on, and it all greased up and ready to go. What we need to do is go ahead and grease up the top now, and go ahead and get the bearings around and inside the top, and then all the nuts assembly and everything back on that. Now what I did was I went ahead and put all that stuff back on the old front end that we took off the bike, so I would know where it was and where to go back to get it when we went to do this process. So that's what we're going to work on now. I'm going to go ahead and get that done. This is the other half of the triple tree that goes on the top. So it's a two-part triple tree. And something fairly cool, because I'm going to be using clip-ons instead of a handlebar through here, I went ahead and made a decision on what I needed to do for controls. Now what I came up with, to of course, got to color match everything, came up with, I'm going to use this Trailtech Vapor. And I got a Trailtech Vapor that's silver to match the color of the frame, to once again tie everything in. So if you don't know anything about these Trailtech Vapors, they're really neat. You've got RPM, you've got speed, you've got temperature control, which we're going to run a temperature probe to the spark plug, so we're going to know where our head temperature is. You've got tachometer, speedometer, air temperature, and engine temperature. Programmable lights. It's got a clock. It's got an odometer on it as well, so we can set the odometer at 0 from the day that this build starts, and then it'll start adding miles from there, which is kind of cool. And it's got all kinds of programmability. I'll put it up here real quick just so you can see everything that is on the back of this thing that's available. Now you can also look these up. It's called Trailtech Vapor. The one that specifically is utilized for this bike, the model number is right there on the bottom. Okay, and that is a 75-2012, and it actually says it's for a 2008 through 2000, or I'm sorry, is it a 3 or an 8? Either 2008, no, 2003 to 2006 Yamaha Blaster. But the one that Treatland had was the same number, only they had a black one and I wanted a silver one, so I was able to source this one on eBay. So we're going to mount this on top of the triple tree where the handlebars would normally go. So right here is where it's going to be mounted. So you're going to have your clip-ons here and here, and the Trail Tech Vapor right there in the center staring you at the face. So I think that'll be really neat. I've got a bunch of other things as well, but that I wanted to kind of just go over some of the main components that I've made a decision on in this video and let you guys know where we're moving along on this build. Braking wise, I went ahead and went with a Tomos Streetmate R front wheel and rear wheel, which are these right here, and disc brakes. Again, Tomos silver to match the frame, to match the Trail Tech Vapor, to kind of bring that whole thing in again. And you can see there's some black accents here on the caliper, or the rotor, I'm sorry. The caliper is black as well. So this is going on the front, like so. I've got another one just like it in the rear. It's going to stay drum brake. We're not going to do a disc brake conversion on this one for this round. We may do that in the future, but not at the moment. So we're just going to go ahead and get started on getting this puppy built. Here's the caliper. It's a used caliper because I'm running out of funds. Here's the caliper, black of course. Master cylinder is black as well. Hand control, etc., etc. I did get new pads, and I do have some other things. I'm doing a quick twist throttle. So in order to do the quick twist throttle, I had to buy different controls. So this control will be lights and signals, high beam, low beam, left and right signals, and horn. I don't know if I'm going to run a horn or not. If I do, it'll probably be like an aftermarket one of some type. But this is going to go on the side where, let's see, this one's actually going to go on the passenger side. And then driver's side, I'm just going to run a kill switch. I'm not going to run an on and off switch or anything like that. The handle grips that I have the brake lights on them, so that's all cool. But I'm going to have to wire this into the Tomos harness to get all this to function. Now I've got a harness for a Tomos Targa LX, and I'm contemplating maybe using the right side of that just to keep it simple, because essentially the only thing that's on the driver's side, or the throttle side of the harness for the Tomos, is your on, off, and lights. So if I want to use lights on the other one, I just move the light wiring from this side to the other side. But again, something that's kind of interesting is if you look over here, it's got lights on this side too. So I'm not really 100% sure why they did that, but it's got lights here, and something that seems to me, it looks like lights here as well. I'm not sure. I got to read up and see what exactly that is. But I can't use this throttle grip because I have a quick quarter turn wide open throttle for this side. So I'm going to have to just take the kill switch from this side and use the wiring and wire in just a single quick, it's just a little kill switch button. So when you hit it, it kills the engine. When it's off, it's ready to start at all times, where this one's a on-off situation. Hello everybody, welcome back. As you can see behind me, we've made a little progress on the bike. Got the front fork on, they got the clamp on, handlebars on, gas tanks on, wiring harnesses on, rear fenders on, lower control arms on. In the process of putting the shocks on. I kind of wanted to have these shocks the other way around, but this reservoir hits the rack, and we need to have the rack on there in order to put the turn signals and the brake light on. So that's what we're going to continue doing now, is getting everything assembled. I got my clutch in, so we're going to put the engine together. We're going to get the engine mounted onto the bike. I've got all brand new fasteners for the entire bike. So everything that goes on this bike is going to be a new fastener, so it's all going to look nice and neat and clean. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Well, after looking around on some of these Tomos mopeds, and like this Targa the Targa LX you can't see off to the side here, the rack actually goes on the outside in between the shock and the frame. And it looks like if I mount them that way, I might be able to squeeze enough in to mount these the way I wanted to. Now hopefully that doesn't interfere with the back tire, but we'll see how it goes. So right now, I'm just going to mock up stage. Looks like it'll clear my fenders, or my tire. Well, it worked. Cool. I got the shocks oriented the way I wanted to. Was able to stretch this rack out enough to get everything to fit on the outside so everything would kind of jive together. I think the bike's really starting to pull together now. We've got basically 4 colors, if you will. We got the silver, we've got the blue, we've got the black, and we got the gold. That's kind of the theme on the whole bike that we're going to go with. So now we're going to continue bolting some miscellaneous parts on, tightening up some bolts. Continuing getting this bad boy put together. Another thing I've done on this bike is I've tried to simplify the fasteners on it. And what I mean by that is I'm going to want to carry a tool kit with me when I go anywhere with this bike in the event something goes loose. I'll have everything on hand. I need to either tighten it up or maybe do some kind of temporary fix, because we're going to be riding this thing from Columbia to Atlanta, Georgia. Columbia, South Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia, which is going to be a long, long ride. And just about every bolt on the engine as well as on the chassis that is a 6mm bolt is an Allen head. Everything that's a regular nut and bolt, like the suspension here, is a 17mm, and a couple other items on here are going to be a 17mm. All the motor mount bolts, the front caliper bolts, everything like that are going to be a 14mm or 13mm. So I've kind of tried to limit the amount of different fasteners on the bike. There's a couple Phillips heads as well, which, you know, those are okay as well. So as long as I got a Allen wrench, a 17mm, a 13mm, and a Phillips, I should be good. So that was kind of the whole purpose of doing that on the bike. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and get the clutch assembled. We need to get the clutch assembled. We need to get the clutch cover side on the bike. We need to get the ignition coil mounted up. We need to get the engine mounted to the frame. We need to get the kickstand mounted to the frame. And then that way we can start putting on the front tire and the rear tire and start to see an almost completed project. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing that. It's like 100 degrees out today, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this so I can blow my fan on myself so I don't look like a sweaty mess when we get done with this. And we'll come back and see you in a little bit.